welcome into a very special episode of UFL tonight because, ladies and gentlemen, we have football tonight. Yes, the Louisville Kings will take on the Birmingham Stallions in front of a sold out, yes, I said it, we have a UFL sellout at Lynn Family Stadium right there in Louisville, Kentucky. But hey, we'll preview that game and all the other games of the weekend slate later in the show, but we got to start off with some of our top stories of the week. First, to no one's surprise, the UFL announced that Body Armor is the official sports drink of the United Football League. Of course, Body Armor is the company that was founded by UFL co-owner Mike Rapoli in partnership with the late, great Kobe Bryant. We have, of course, already seen partnerships with Rapoli-owned companies like Noble and Junkless, but Body Armor might just be his most recognizable brand and a great sponsor for the league. And talk about a great sponsor, you can't get much better than the legendary coach John Gruden. The league made sure to hook him up with some new merch for every single team, including a couple game official jerseys. And man, I thought I loved football, but this man just off the cuff rips off 10 minutes of straight UFL ball knowledge. You gotta see it. He's one of the best sponsors for the league, and I really just want him to walk around UFL games kind of being like a UFL mascot of sorts. But we have to talk about our first new mascot with the Orlando Storm, introducing Kratos. Now, Kratos is the great Greek mythology figure that's the personification of strength, and he's also the badass main character of the God of War video game franchise. Overall, such a fun costume idea, and I know that fans are going to absolutely love it. The league is doing so many cool things this year, it's really hard to keep up. One of the coolest things that they launched last week is their brand new studio show, appropriately named the UFL Show, hosted by Anita Marks and Ethan Birch, a friend of the show who's been running around quite literally everywhere promoting the UFL and has somehow become a spokesman for Junkless protein bars as well in the process. But that's all the media and content side. What about the football? And I'm glad you asked. See, in 2025, the UFL launched their FAST division, which stands for Football Advancement Through Sports Technology. Think of it as like almost Disney Imagineering, but for football. This is where we get all these new rule changes, all these technological innovations, and it's really a great partnership that they're even expanding further in 2026. So in partnership with several technology companies, they've all come together to enhance the quality of the game. So now we have computer chips in the footballs, the live audio from players and coaches on the broadcast, smart helmets, and so much more. In fact, one of the companies partnering with the UFL this year is EA Sports. Yes, that same EA Sports that makes Madden in college football. Now, we're not getting a UFL video game anytime soon to my knowledge, but EA Sports is analyzing every single regular season UFL game to help improve player animations and movement. Every company that's a part of the FAST program will take part in a UFL Tech showcase at this year's UFL Championship. All right, I know what you're saying. I'm already talking about the UFL Championship and we haven't even started week one. Let's bring it back, taking us back to right here, week one. We haven't seen some of these teams take the field, but we have seen some returning signal callers, but also a little bit of shakeup in the depth charts. Starting off with our returning starting quarterbacks are DC's Jordan Teamu, Birmingham's Matt Corral, Brandon Silvers in St. Louis, and Nolan Henderson in Houston. The new starters are Louisville's Jason Bean, Jalen McClendon, although he's not new to the league, is starting in Columbus, and Orlando has yet to announce their QB1. And then Dallas has announced former Western Kentucky Hilltopper Austin Reed is starting over the King of Spring Luis Perez. This was a very shocking move considering Perez has been cemented as the Renegade starter since being traded to the team halfway through 2023, but it's clear that loyalty was with Bob Stoops and not Rick Neuheisel as he shakes things up ahead of week one. Some other quarterback news as Talia Tagovailoa signs with the Houston Gamblers. Talia, of course, is a former Maryland product and spent some time in the CFL, ELF, and IFL. But still, most of you probably know him as the brother to Atlanta Falcons quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. In a corresponding move, the Gamblers released Donovan Smith, who quickly found a new home signing with the Birmingham Stallions. Now everyone, stay tuned after the break because we have our hot topic, our survey says, our community content, and most of all, we break down every single game this weekend. What's up, guys? We just got done at Feed Store Barbecue, the official barbecue partner of the Dallas Renegades. And if you don't know, they're kicking off tomorrow at Toyota Stadium. You can still get tickets for 33% off at theufl.com/tickets. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. at Toyota Stadium. You can't miss it. We're going to beat the Houston Gamblers. Let's go!
Who said I can't wear my Converse with my dress? Well, baby, that's just me.
Welcome back to Hot Topic on UFL Tonight, where you give us your hot takes and we react. Man, I cannot wait for these in the middle of the season. It's going to be great. Starting off, we have Naruto, who says that the DC Defenders will have the most 60-yard field goals this year. Now, honestly, I can see it. Now, a couple weeks ago, we had the kicking competition where Mike Rapoli was in town, challenged all 8 UFL kickers. Whoever could hit that 60-yard field goal got $500. Matt McCrane took home the bacon, so looks like right now he has to be one of the front runners. They know him as Money McCrane for a reason. Now, this past weekend, I had the chance to sit down, have some barbecue with Renegades kicker Colton Beaker, and man, I can't count my boy out. So right now, before week 1, you're going to learn coming up here in a minute. I got to stick by my Renegades. I'm going with Colton Beaker for the most 60-yard field goals. But hey, Matt McCrane is a solid pick. If I was a betting man, would definitely be putting some money on him. And then next up, we have T, who says Brandon Silvers is going to be surprisingly good this year. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I don't really think it's surprising at all. We saw how he played in 2023 with AJ Smith as his offensive coordinator. I know that AJ has a little bit more freedom now than he did back in San Antonio, and they're going to make things fun. I'm really excited for this duo to come to light. You know, I called it last episode. I expected Silvers to get the start. I know fans look to want to have a kind of a younger quarterback out there. I know a lot of guys are rooting for Michael Pratt like yourself. But, you know, Silvers is a spring league veteran. He knows how these leagues work. He's played well in these leagues and really zero reason to doubt him. So, St. Louis, you're in good hands come Saturday. And finally, we have Hamler season with an alternate line to Sunday's game. He's taken the Orlando Storm to win by 10. Now, buddy, you'll see later, I'm taking them to win. I'm not taking them to win by 10. It's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but hey, if that Orlando crowd is treated to a blowout, they get a DJ Khaled concert. Storm football is going to be fun all season long there, so I'm here for it. I'll root for it. That was all for this week's Hot Topic. Now let's see what the community agrees on in our weekly survey says. Follow us at UFL Tonight, as we'll post 3 weekly polls for you to participate in. The first poll for next week's episode drops right at kickoff. For our first poll with cut day long and gone, we wanted to see how confident everybody was in their teams, and it looks like most are, with 67% being very excited, 27% just being a bit excited, and then hardly anyone doesn't have any confidence heading into week 1. And I have to say, I respect the Doomers and how 0 people said not really. It was all just, oh, okay, we're on to next year. Nobody was just like somewhat disappointed. They're just like, no, this is going to be awful. So it's either 100 or 0. Respect it. And then going into poll 2, we talked about Money Matt McCrane earlier and how many 60-yard field goals he's going to have. But we asked you guys if you expect to see a 4-point field goal attempted in week 1. And it looks like 70% of y'all think we're going to see it. We think that this is really going to change the rules and that we're going to see a fair bit of 60-yard field goals. If we didn't even see one made last year and we're expecting to see one attempted this year in week 1, hey, let's go. That's going to be awesome. I know that some people are very anti-field goal, but you can't deny that a 60-plus yard field goal gets that adrenaline going. It is a fun football play. I'm tired of people acting like special teams isn't real football. It's very much part of the game. It's 1/3 of the game, if you ask me, potentially even more. If you have a good special teams, you can take yourself to that next level. So I am excited. I hope we see a 60-plus yard field goal. I don't think we'll see one week 1. I think it takes a little bit of time to get geared up, to trust guys enough to trot them out for that. But hey, if we do and we get a 4-point field goal, I know Twitter's going to be going crazy. And finally, we have football, everyone. So I asked all of y'all who you're taking tonight, and wow, was it close. We have a final tally of the Louisville Kings taking it with 52% of the vote. This is almost as dead of a split as you can get, and it goes to show how completely unpredictable these teams are. We've never even seen the Louisville Kings play football. It's just impossible to predict what's going to happen. But we made a couple calls. See, we talked to some Louisville Kings fans with the guys from the Kings Corner, and then also some Stallions fans with Luke Miller from State of the Stallions. But we asked both of their predictions, but here's the twist. Neither fan base knew that we were talking to each other. So let's hear their week 1 predictions. This is an interesting scenario right now where we have a team that nobody knows what to expect because they've never played football before. getting to play football for the first ever time in a city that's never seen professional football. So I thought it'd be fun, kind of sit down with you guys and let's try to predict the unpredictable game right here. Coin toss. We go in heads, we go in tails. Kings taking the toss. We got Stallions taking the toss.
Yeah, I think if it was me, you definitely got to go with tails. Of course, tails never fails.
Tails never fails.
Yeah, that's how I've always rocked. Yeah. I think McCarron is a heads guy. That's what I get a feeling of.
And I'm also a defer guy.
Kings will win it.
Defer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tails and defer. Interesting, interesting. What do you expect that first offensive drive to be like for Louisville with a first-year head coach? And then the opposite turnaround, you have another quarterback, first-time head coach. What do you expect the Stallions' first drive to look like?
So we were talking before this. We think both first drives are going to stall out.
We might have a couple 3-and-outs, James, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I hate to say it, but
I could see a big pass play on both sides first drive, but I think it's going to come down to them just running the ball and then stalling out. That's what I think.
historically, I feel like with spring football in years past, especially these opening weeks, sometimes things favor the defense a little bit. So you kind of take that already as your baseline and you throw on top of that, as you said, new coaches, new schemes, new players. And I think it's very possible that we see maybe a slow start on both sides.
Going into that Russell Dickerson concert, who do you think's taking the lead going into half?
Me personally, I think it's going to be Stallions are going to be up 17-11. I think is what we said.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
17-11.
I think we have a lower score at half, maybe a 10-7, a 10-8, something like that. I think it could go either way, but let's say that the Kings are up, just, home field advantage. They, maybe capitalize on a turnover or something like that.
And then we get to enjoy that Russell Dickerson concert right at halftime. Go get a beer, use the restroom.
Not me. I'm staying for the concert.
We need them to have a WWE style rumble at halftime along with Russell Dickerson, because honestly, this league only has 8 teams.
You do know that Russell Dickerson's tour is called WrestleMania, right? So
there you go. That's
fitting.
perfect. Yeah. So UFL, if you're watching this, free idea there for you.
WrestleMania. I like it.
I'll pee my pants before I leave that concert.
So 17-11, we got a Russell Dickerson concert and some piss stained pants later. Which coach out of these first year guys got their team rallied up, and what are we looking like final for the game?
Oh, yeah. America loves comeback stories. That's why we're choosing the Kings to be down at half, and we just come back and win it all.
What does Benny Snell say? Come out militant?
Yeah.
They're going to come out more focused, ready to move the ball down the field. I say Benny Snell just smash, dude. Ain't that what he says?
Hey, we'll smash through people's faces.
Yeah.
He said Benny Snell football's coming to smash.
I'm going to have to go with the Stallions pull it out in the end. I would guess a final score of, let's say, 28-16 Stallions win. The Avalanche kind of comes on in the second half, and it's too much for the Kings. That's my take.
What's that final score then to you guys? If it was 17-11 going into half, are we expecting some crazy UFL score here? Are we expecting it to kind of be slow throughout the game?
So the over-under for total points on the game is 43.5. We're smashing the over on that.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Stallions are -6.5. Like I said, everybody loves a good comeback story. Kings win 31-27.
I could see, second half especially, Kings defense starts to get a little, worn down. McFarland finds some creases, makes some big runs, maybe catches a few passes out of the backfield. Corral kind of checks things down to him, and then he makes a few guys miss, makes some big plays. So
I would love to see Lucky over the top back corner of the end zone for the winner.
I see maybe our kicker coming out, kicking a 60-yard field goal to win the game.
A 4-point field goal to win the game in the UFL
yeah.
opening night, that would break the internet. So
I'm going to go crazy if we get a 4-pointer the first game.
So, yeah, I don't know if we see any 60-yard field goals or anything too crazy. I mean, I think the league is sort of set up to incentivize being aggressive, but it is also week one. So I do think you'll still see as much as possible these coaches and things kind of figuring it out. And I do think that it'll be a challenge. I mean, and I think for all of these teams, all these offenses, the first week is sort of always a challenge. I do think Bean will make some plays with his legs. I mean, I think that's probably, if you're the Stallions defense, coaches and players, that's your biggest fear, right? Is trying to contain him and keep him sort of under control.
I was thinking more of the lines of 300 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. He's mobile.
Yeah, he is.
So
no interceptions?
Nah, he's perfect.
And I think for Matt, I think this probably isn't his best game, but I think he does enough to get the job done. Let's say something like, 12 of 20 or something like that, maybe 200, a little over 200 yards. We'll say 2 touchdowns and an interception.
So one more expectation we got for Coach Redmond. He's homegrown right here in Louisville. We want him to just come out no matter the score of the game and just have a good time. Like put on a show for the city of Louisville and just enjoy the moment because this is our first professional football team in 100 years. So it's a very big deal.
Completely unbiased, of course. What are we expecting out of the Birmingham Stallions? Because Lord knows we've seen too many championships out of them.
Falling 0-1 in the first week, I feel like they have a good bounce back year or bounce back week 2. Let's say 6-4, 7-3.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Obviously, this is AJ's first time as a head coach, but he's got a lot of great coaches on his staff. A 7-3 season or something like that, that puts them in the playoffs.
What is your way too early Louisville Kings season prediction for the season?
Championship, dude.
12-0, man.
Yeah. 10-0.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Playoff. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
12-0.
Yeah.
Jason Beam, probably season MVP, championship MVP. Keenan Ellis,
Yeah.
defensive player of the year.
You were featured last week on UFL Tonight's Hot Topic.
State of Stallions. Y'all know the deal, man. Kings by 90.
Oh, yeah. He posted on your last show that we were going to not win a game the whole season.
Saying Louisville will not win a single game this year. So let me ask you, are you going to stand on business right now? Right before the kickoff, is Louisville going to win a game?
No, they're definitely not going to win this game. And yeah, I'm going to stand on business 10 toes down. Louisville doesn't win a game this year. I think I saw it out there today. Somebody said, it looks like after the season, they might rebrand as the Louisville Jesters because they're going to be a joke out there on the field.
He's talking out of his ass.
Are you ready to see this all over Twitter whenever the Kings beat the Stallions like 44-10 or something?
I might have to eat some words. Yeah, we'll see.
Hell
If
yeah.
you can't tell, James, we're not serious at all.
Oh,
We just
same
love
over
ball
here.
and we like to shoot the shit, bro.
Shout out Zach Lee.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
He's a big supporter of the Louisville Kings, big supporter of the Louisville Kings Corner. He's been there with us since day one, literally. So shout out to him, man. He just really helped us down this road past 5 months.
So everyone make sure to check out the Kings Corner for all your Louisville Kings news. I know they're going to be busy at the game right now as this airs. And then with Luke for State of the Stallions, it's very likely that he's actually sitting right next to me watching this as it premieres live. So thank you for agreeing to my last second interview. In addition to these guys, we want to share some of the best UFL content to come out this past week. And we start off in Columbus, Ohio, as the Flight Deck has been doing some awesome stuff. Combustion Brewery has released a special edition Pilot Light Lager and partnering with the Flight Deck to be the home to all Aviators Away watch parties. Next up, we have Amira, and no, you are not dreaming. We have been getting so much promo for UFL Kickoff. The Fox Sports and UFL crews have been knocking it out of the park. Can't wait to follow up next week with the ratings because I think we're going to see a massive jump from week 1, 2025. And finally, we have a full ESPN post detailing Mike Rapoli's new ownership of the league. We were just talking about promo, and tweeting to 58 million followers is some amazing promotion. So like I said, this year is going to be something special. Now that's our community content out of the way. Now let's get started with our game predictions. So game 1 is here in about half an hour. It's going to be a showdown, and quite honestly, I think we may see a bit of a sloppy first half like Luke was saying, just because we have a couple inexperienced coaches and a team that's playing for the first time together. Overall, I want the Louisville fans to pack out the stadium and get a win, but at the same time, I have to admit that this Birmingham team has all the talent in the world on paper. But I think there's a couple playmakers on the Kings offense that can make a difference, so I'm going with Louisville 24-20. Game 2, Battlehawks Defenders is always a legendary matchup, and well, I've said it multiple times, but I think DC takes this one easily. Teamu is coming off a championship victory in which he absolutely dominated, and he's fueled this year by that anger of not winning the MVP or the Offensive Player of the Year award. Give me Defenders 31, Battlehawks 17. Teamu is coming for that MVP spot. Now, here's where my homer comes out, okay? I think Austin Reed is going to prove a lot of the haters wrong and show everybody that Rick Neuheisel is not crazy by benching the King of Spring, Luis Perez. Houston's been a group that I've continually had questions about, and Sumlin's last stint in spring football wasn't the best, so I'm taking the Renegades 21-9. And finally, the Aviators versus the Storm. Oh man, this is going to be a good one, and I can't wait to see Ted Ginn Jr. on the sidelines. And it's going to be weird to see Anthony Becht in orange, but for this game, I think I have to give the edge to the veteran coach in week 1. I'm expecting Jalen McClendon to play great, and Columbus on paper looks to have one of the better defenses in the league. But playmakers like Dorian Thompson-Robinson and KJ Hamler will be hard to stop. Plus, this game is at Orlando, and they're blessed by the gods, both Kratos and DJ Khaled. So I'm taking Orlando to win this one 27-24. It's going to be a great game regardless. Now that's just week 1, and what's better than my unsolicited, uneducated opinion on week 1? My unsolicited, uneducated opinion on the entire season. So let's take a look at our first ever UFL Tonight power rankings. Going from the bottom up, and number 8, I've already mentioned it, but nothing on paper just flashes about the Houston Gamblers to me. They have some stars like John Trey Kirkland and Justin Hall, but as a whole, their roster ranks low for me heading into week 1. At number 7, I have the St. Louis Battlehawks. Now, I'm very much expecting this to change, but the Battlehawks on paper, I believe, got worse in some areas or just simply got older in others. Nothing about this Battlehawks team at this current moment makes me say, yeah, this is St. Louis's year. Number 6, I'm going with the Louisville Kings. I know I picked them to win tonight, but so many question marks surround this team. Redmond being a first-year coach. We know Jason Bean's mobile, but we've seen some highly touted mobile rookies come in before and just not pan out. Until I see him shine on a UFL field, they're just going to be in the bottom half for me personally. Then at number 5, we have the Columbus Aviators. Now, they have some of the same concerns as the Louisville Kings. However, I feel their roster is a bit more well-rounded, and Ted Ginn Jr. has a signal caller in Jalen McClendon that's at least played at this level for years. So out of the gate, I have a little bit higher expectations for him. At number 4, I'm going with the Birmingham Stallions. On paper, this roster is absolutely stacked with several former NFL draft picks like John Ross, and the team retains their starter with Matt Corral, who is an Ole Miss connection with offensive coordinator Tyler Siskey. But quite frankly, it's Siskey, McCarron, and company that bring the Stallions down a bit. There's no doubting McCarron's success at Alabama, but that was a decade plus ago, and that was a quarterback, not as a coach. He claims being a quarterback under Nick Saban is the equivalent, but until that theory is proven, I just can't put them in the top 3. At number 3, we have the Orlando Storm, and man, Anthony Becht is just so damn happy to be coaching this football team that a kid on Christmas would look depressed next to him. That passion and that excitement I really think can resonate with the team, so Orlando is the team I'm ranking high strictly off vibes. We've never seen them play, and I can't give you any metrics other than I just like their vibe, so they're going in at number 3. At number 2, I'm going with the defending champion DC Defenders. They're retaining most of their staff and more players than everyone else. So if they're not in the top half of every power ranking, something's off because DC has the least amount of question marks across the entire league. And finally, our top team in this week's power rankings, we'll be honest. Once football starts being played out, we'll be honest. But we haven't seen anything yet. Everyone's 0-0. So I got to put my team, the Dallas Renegades, at number 1 for our first ever UFL Tonight power rankings. Now, I think this team is a talented bunch, and I think Bob Stoops being a bit conservative was holding them back. So I'm excited to see if Rick Neuheisel can completely revitalize this team, because I think the talent is there. We just may not have the play calling in the past. That's our weekly rankings, but now let's make some money with Baker's Best Bets. Taking a look at week 1 lines, we see that Birmingham is now a 5.5 point favorite, and the over-under is at 42.5 for that kickoff game there in Louisville. For our first game on Saturday, we see that DC went from being a 1.5 point favorite all the way to a 4.5 point favorite this week against the St. Louis, with the over-under being at 44.5. Then we have Dallas being a 5.5 point favorite over Houston, with their line being the lowest of the week at 39.5. And then finally, we have Orlando, who is a small favorite at 1.5 over Columbus, with the over-under for that game being set at 41.5. 4.5. Now, I've been saying that I love DC minus 1.5 over St. Louis. Personally, now I feel like that spread of 4.5 is a little bit too much for me. It's still a decent play. I expect DC to take the game, and obviously that shift in the lines kind of shows what Vegas is seeing too. But I love the over in that matchup. I feel like these DC St. Louis games are always shootouts that go down to the last minute. 44.5, you need each team to just score, 22 points. I think that's very much doable with the UFL rule set, so I am taking the over there. Next off, for Dallas versus Houston, I'm actually taking the under in this game. Historically, these games have been pretty low scoring. We're having Austin Reed hit with his first ever start. And also, I feel like Houston's offense has always been a question mark, even with Nolan Henderson at quarterback. And there's just not much to this game right now that makes me say, hey, it's going to be crazy high scoring. It's going to be week one. It's going to be sloppy. Two new, coaching changes. Even though someone's been with the team previously, in a sense, this is by no means, I don't even think there's a single player that's still there that was there when someone's there. So very much two new regimes. I'm expecting this to be a little bit sloppy. I don't see them hitting the over on this one. Then Orlando versus Columbus. Like I said, I am vibing with the Orlando Storm. And hey, minus 1.5, I'll take that all day, okay? They're playing at home. Anthony Beck's fired up. They really need a win. Mike Rapoli should be there. He said he's going to be at every single Orlando Storm game, so who knows? He may be putting in that call too if things go south there in the fourth quarter. But I'm taking the Orlando Storm minus 1.5. And before we head out, we have to do our Friday top 5, but we have to do this with a twist because we have no Louisville Kings footage to show you. So we have two legendary players as coaches, AJ McCarron and Chris Redman. Let's have a Friday top 5 of some of the best Coach Redman and AJ McCarron plays back in their quarterback days. Starting up at number 5, we have Chris Redman, Broncos versus Ravens with a deep shot for a touchdown. Number 4, AJ McCarron, Alabama versus Kent State with a deep shot. And man, look at the celebration from AJ McCarron right here. This is the type of energy I absolutely love. At number 3, we're keeping it back with AJ McCarron. This is on 4th and 4 against a ranked Arkansas, and just a perfect pass to the big boy who runs it all the way in for the score. And yet again, they're going crazy. At number 2, Chris Redman, Falcons versus Saints. Deep shot, perfect placement all the way, runs it in for 6. And at number 1, we have AJ McCarron, Alabama versus Georgia. Deep shot, right on the money, touchdown. It does not get any bigger than that. Hope everybody enjoyed tonight's episode, and make sure that you also tune in here in a half hour on Fox to watch the Birmingham Stallions take on the Louisville Kings. Make sure you also keep updated with everything going on with the show by following us on X at UFL Tonight, and celebrate, guys, because we finally made it through the offseason. It is time to play ball. See you next week.